Hey everyone, this is Steve from GamersNexus.net, and we are freshly back from Cloud Imperium Games' Santa Monica offices, where we talked to Chris Roberts about Star Citizen, and we talked to him for quite a while, so I have two parts of the video up. This is a shortened version. The longer version for fanatics can be found below. It's quite long, and basically we just went through all these community questions that have been piling up that people wanted us to pass along to Chris and his team. So that's what's answered in this video. I will let you enjoy it. If you have any further questions, please post them below, and I will see you all next time.
I mean, you should almost think of the ship itself being almost like a case in the PC world, and you decide, what brains you're putting in it, what GPU you're putting in it, what CPU, I mean, all those things are basically what you can customize, and that's one of the reasons why I think that the game's going to be pretty interesting, because you could have the same players with the same ship, and they could have basically kitted out their ship with totally different builds. So part of, I think, combat, when you're going up against people, will kind of knowing how they set up. They set up their ship more for stealth, and if so, you need to change out your package for that. Because like if you have a really stealthy ship, it's hard to get radar locks for your weapons and all the rest of the stuff. So maybe you need to have more scanners. But more scanners will mean that you can't have as many other whatever, and weapon or as much power. So we basically implemented that system. The balancing of it's going to be a challenge, but it's really cool. And all those, and the other thing that's really cool is each one of those systems has a physical component that gets put in the ship. So like if you're shooting a ship, for instance, it's like it would be on a real ship. It's not like we just roll a dice and which system gets hit. It's literally our bolt goes through, like if we knock the shields down and we're going through the hull, we've knocked the armor down now. Where our projectile, whether it's a physical projectile or an energy bolt, we trace that through the actual ship. And does it hit that? Does it hit the life support? Does it hit the power plant? Does it hit this? And if it does, it will do damage to it. And if it does damage to it, because of the power system, how they connect, it will affect all the systems in it. So it's all very emergent behavior. It's like it's basically much more simulated than it traditionally. Because in a game, most of this stuff is just like, okay, you've gone through the armor, and now you've got a 20% chance that you're going to hit the power plant, and a 30% chance you'll hit this, and you've done a critical hit. Well, that's not the way this works. This is like literally if you're shooting in the right place, where you know where the power plant is or where the life support will be, then and you get through the armor, you'll hit it and you'll do damage to it. And if you do damage to it and it goes down, that's actually a good suggestion. I don't think we were thinking about underclocking, but I don't think there would be any reason why you shouldn't underclock it to reduce your heat signature. I mean, basically the process that we do is all the items get created, and it's just like a chip where basically they'll have a potential that can go over what their the default is, and when we create the item, we roll a number. Maybe it's 20%, maybe it's 30%, and then you, as someone that takes that item, if you go beyond the recommended setting, you're just risking destroying the item. But sometimes maybe you have to destroy a couple of items, and you now get that rare item that can go plus 30%. That thing may generate more heat, but you may have a build that you've set up where you'll just do a little more damage for each one of your ships. But I definitely would see there will be sort of a market inside the game where someone actually goes and collects these things, overclocks them, and builds, and then sells them for say twice as much as the base ship would cost, but then you've got that little bit of edge.
The cyber power equivalent.
Yeah, totally, absolutely. Yeah, with whoever the best overclock, Digital Storm or whoever it would be, Origin PC, they can get that extra. They'll definitely. I think there'll be like boutique ship people out there. The team's been really busy on the Hangar Module, which is sort of what I was just sort of running around. We're going to launch it at Gamescom August 24th. We're going to have a party on that Saturday, and then after that, let people download it. And that will allow players to, in their hangar, they'll see the ships they've pledged. The very first rev of the Hangar Module will only have the initial pledge ships, so that would be the Aurora, 300i, Hornet, Freelancer, Constellation. But after that, our plan is to continually sort of all these modules release. The Hangar Module, we're going to do a dogfighting module at the end of December. Then the following year, we'll have a planet-side module, and then we'll have a single-player alpha, and then the sort of alpha beta of the persistent universe. All these modules that we do, once we release one version, they're not static. We will rev them every couple of months with a new drop and be adding features, adding content. So the whole idea is iterative development with the community, so they're sharing in it, they're getting to participate in it. So I hope they all understand that at the early stages, I mean, this, like when we do the hangar and we do the dogfighting, it won't be as polished as a beta is on an MMO that they've worked on for 3 or 4 years, because this is a much earlier process. But I think ultimately it will make a better game and a better experience for people at the end, because by knocking out the problems early, I think it will be much smoother in the end. But at the beginning, I'm sure there's going to be lots of teething problems. When the planet side module will be sort of just expanding that out, where you'll be outside going to the space bar or going to the ship dealer, and it'll basically be the first sort of public prototype of what it will play like or feel like down on the planet between your space missions. I think we promised 100 systems. I think right now our map has about 115 systems. Each system can have multiple locations, planets, and each planet, some of the planets can have multiple landing locations. So something like Earth has 3 landing locations presently. Star Citizen, as it comes out, the first rev or whatever, it's not going to have a seamless, like you fly from atmosphere down onto a planet and we generate a whole procedural planet, because with the amount of star systems and planets we have, it's just unless you're doing some generic random looking planet, which I'm not a big fan of, that's like a content issue, just creating that many assets. So what's going to happen is we're not going to have any loading screens, but you'll be in orbit around a planet, and then you'll negotiate your landing at which location you want to land at, and they'll give you clearance to land. When you've negotiated it, you'll sort of basically hit autopilot, the same as you would do, say, in a wing commander or a privateer, and it would initiate the landing sequence, which will be in engine. So you'll sort of see, you'll be like your point of view, and but we'll sort of take control. You won't be able to fly it down, and you'll be point of view going through the clouds. Externally, you'll see your ship going through clouds, and then the clouds will break, and you'll see the area you're landing, and you'll land on the pad, and then controls back to you, and you can step out and go visit the bar or the shop or whatever. So the whole design is sort of an emergent system, so it sort of reacts to what's happening and what the players are doing or who's blockading, whatever. So the goal of the game design is to have the players, by their own actions, generate a lot of what's happening in the universe and a lot of the conflict and interest and intrigue, and then we, as sort of the game masters, are adding and feeding new content in on a weekly basis. We'll be adding new content in, but the idea is, we can never add enough content to keep up with how gamers are. I mean, they'll just blow through everything faster than you can create. So the idea is the gamers themselves create 80-90% of the content that they're consuming, essentially, because it's all about their struggles for power, or which factions with what other faction, and then we add in additional sort of stories, like a cool 5 mission series where you could get this one item, or we create a new sort of bad guy NPC, or we have a new star system that we add that someone can discover, and so we sort of add these things in to sort of keep things changing and evolving. And we're also looking at what the players are doing, and based on what the players are doing, we're sort of feeding that back into what we're doing. So we're saying, okay, well, this one faction is getting the upper hand in this area of the galaxy, so let's make some news stories about it in our newscasts. And then maybe let's send some, let's switch something up so this other faction can come over here and get involved in what's happening over there. So the idea is to make people feel like this universe is an ongoing, living, evolving universe, and not something that's static. The model of this should be more like very small iterative updates, which is also what we're doing on the development. That's why we're dropping things like the Hangar Module and the dogfighting and doing iterative development of them. So it's a different way of thinking about it, but that's kind of the goal.
Sounds like the Agile Scrum programming methodology.
Yeah, totally. Well, we use that. I mean, so and actually one of the reasons why we're doing the public-facing deliverables is the one problem that anyone that tells you about Agile Scrum is that people you kind of abuse it when it's an internal thing. Whereas yes, it's always meant to be on you're going towards a goal and it's a demo you're going to have to do. But when you're doing a demo for 200,000 people, you can't fake it, right? So it actually forces you to actually have it work properly and not be kind of jury rigged in the background. And so that's kind of one of the reasons why we're doing it, because I sort of feel like it's going to force us to get our homework done sooner, let me say that way. Because what happens normally in development is that you tend to finish everything to 80% of the way, and you're like, all right, that's easy to do, to fix up the last one, but you're off to the next task because you're so busy. And then what happens at the end, this is why projects slip quite a bit, is at the end of it, you have a lot of things that you have to clean up, and not any one of them is particularly like difficult or time consuming, but there's so much of it that it just, you don't have enough time to get it all done, and that's why everyone crunches at the end of projects. And I'm not saying that our method is inherently going to make us be brilliant and everyone else dumb, but I do think what it's forcing us to do is, instead of having like one big crazy crunch at the end, it's sort of smaller sprints where there's little crunches for it, but you're in better shape as you get towards the end. Well, no, other than say thank you. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, we're getting to build this game at a level that you normally would only get to do if you're doing it at a major publisher, but with complete sort of creative freedom, without having the marketing department sitting over your shoulder going, oh, you need to broaden it out so we get the casual players in, and do this, and this game sold well, so let's do that, and we need you in this quarter. So we can really just concentrate on making a great game, and we have no other goal other than that. And as a game maker, that's like amazing. It's like the artist's dream, and that wouldn't happen without the support of the community. It's something's happening that I think will, I'm not saying it's changing everything, but it definitely adds a new element to the landscape of gaming, where gamers can have their voice heard and make certain things happen that maybe wouldn't have happened in a bigger corporate situation. And I think it's really great. I mean, I think it's great because it lets the voice of the people, or in this case the gamers, be heard more. So that's fantastic, and I thank everyone that's really backed us, because it's a privilege and honor to do that, and I thank you all for letting us do this.